Hello and welcome to a Not So Awesome review, and today we're doing a retro look back at the Sonic the Hedgehog resaurus toys from around 1999, if I'm correct. These are the first real articulated figures that we got from what I can tell, and they are based off the Sonic Adventure video game. So yeah, again, these figures came out around 1999 from resaurus, and from what I've read up on that company, they only lasted 2 waves before the company went under. Another company had to come in and take over the Sonic franchise. So there's only so many of these figures, there's only 2 waves, and yeah, I picked these up at Target a long time ago, in case anyone's wondering, a long time, like 1999, a long time ago, when I was a kid, and I enjoyed these figures growing up. Back then, video game characters as action figures weren't really a thing. You wouldn't find any Mario action figures, you wouldn't find any Mega Man action figures, aside from the TV series ones, but even those I never actually saw. Sonic, never saw it. Legend of Zelda, never saw it. All these characters from Nintendo and different video game franchises that I would have loved to have had as a kid in action figure form, they just weren't a thing unless it was Pokemon. Pokemon went crazy with everything, and I'm grateful for that. But up until this point, there was no action figures for Sonic, at least none that I had seen. There's figurines and stuff like that, but actual action figures, you wouldn't see them at the store. So when I saw these, I remember wanting them. I don't remember if I got all 3 of them at the same day. I don't know if I got Sonic and then my mom picked up the other 2 for me. Either way, my mom is the one who bought these for me because, again, 1999, I was like 9 years old. So there is that, but I am grateful and happy that I still have these mostly complete. I am missing the base plate for Tails here, as you guys can kind of see, and I don't know where the rings or the stands are. The stands may actually be long gone. The rings may be somewhere, and Tails' stand might be somewhere as well, but and apparently I didn't find it when I was finding these figures earlier this year. So I can't do a full-on, complete review, which is why I'm doing this on a Tuesday, where I'm going to try and do more retro stuff, in case anyone's wondering. So there is that. But yeah, let's just get into it here, and we're going to start off with Tails. So like I said, unfortunately for me, I don't have Tails' complete accessories, but I do have his hair, which is important. I'm going to get to that in a second. But of course, originally this figure would come with a base, a little stand, and a ring, which the ring would go in the stand and then it would plug into the base. Which is cool because it had like a nice little gold ring. It didn't look cheap. I mean, it looked cheap. It felt cheap. It was plasticky. But, I mean, it was nice and golden, unlike the ones we're getting nowadays where they're just yellow. But anyways, this figure looks pretty good in my opinion. I know he's different. I know he's not the same Tails we're used to nowadays. There's definitely more of a stylized look to him. And even compared to his Sonic Adventure counterpart, it's a little bit off, but it still looks really good. I don't know what it is about these figures where they have a very cartoony expression to them, and I really love it. It's the big eyes. He has the smaller forehead, which I do like because, again, if you watch my review for the Tails figure for the movie, that was one of my main complaints, is I feel like he has kind of a big forehead now, and in this figure, it's not really there. It's not prominent. It looks pretty good. Look-wise, it's Tails. There's really not much to say about that. What I meant about the hair earlier is that the hair does tend to just kind of come off like that. There might have been glue on it at one point, but it definitely didn't stick too well, and for the most part, I remember the Tails figure being like this whenever I found it in like my little toy box or something. But thankfully, for whatever miracle, I never threw away the hair wherever it ended up, and I was able to put it back together. And something I should probably glue down at some point, but because it's rubbery, I don't want to use super glue. So I'm going to wait until I get some other glue to kind of hold it in there. But yeah, articulation-wise, it's nothing great. It's nothing, groundbreaking. It's very familiar to how Sonic figures are done now. We have a hinge that goes up and down, like so. You can rotate it around. His hand does have rotation right there. And his legs can kick forward and back. There's no outward movement or anything like that. There's no movement at the shoe or anything. There is rotation at the tail and rotation at the head, which is really hard to do from this angle. Let's move right there. But yeah, he does have a decent amount of articulation. Again, not anything groundbreaking, especially for Sonic figures. But for the time, and just the fact that it was an action figure, it was a Sonic action figure, it was a video game action figure, I absolutely loved it. This is definitely one of my favorite things from my childhood. just because of that fact. The gloved hands look really good. I do like the stylized hands here. I like that they're posed in a certain way. Normally, it's something that I would complain about, saying like, okay, I don't like pre-posed things. I like fists on action figures, which is true. I feel like fists on action figures should be defaulted for the most part. But when it comes to Sonic figures, what we get a lot nowadays is hands like this right here, where they're kind of just meant for gripping. Of course, it's meant for gripping the ring and stuff like that, but it's either that or a fist. We don't usually get open hands, and I'm happy with the fact that, you know, these first figures have somewhat posed hands. And I would like it if later in the future, Jax did the same thing and gave us some other hand options, so we're not just recycling the same figures over and over again. Age-wise, these figures have aged pretty well. Their joints on most of them are pretty good. They're not weak, but they're not too strong. I would call them fragile, and the fact that my Sonic figure did break on me when I was a kid, so if you have these, definitely use them more as a collector's item than anything, because you don't want them to break on you. They're not super cheap. Tails doesn't go for too much. Knuckles, a little bit. Sonic can go up there, especially if you're looking for new in box. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, just want to put that out there. You know, it's not the cleanest figure. You can see there's some red on his tail right there. It has been played with, but I mean, that's what an action figure is meant for, especially when you're a kid, is to be played with, and I definitely played with these and had fun with them when I was younger. Anyways, let's do a little bit of a comparison here with his modern counterpart right there. We have the modern Tails, which, again, it doesn't look bad. I do like the modern Tails. His hair's in the middle, one of the big differences there. The eyes, of course, you know, similar, different. Bodies, similar, but different. Shoes, definitely way bigger on the older one right here. And honestly, I like his body proportions a little bit better than his body proportions, just because it's a little bit longer. It looks a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is. It's just, it feels more natural, whereas this modern Tails, his body feels a little bit flat, especially compared to how long his legs are. I feel like his torso should be up just a little bit more. Not too much, but a little bit more. And you can kind of see it, too, in the movie figure, where the movie version of Tails, if I can get him to stand, because out of the three figures, yeah, the most recent one is the one where you're going to have issues trying to get him to stand up straight. But you can see here that his body is a little bit more elongated. He is leaning forward a little bit, so it's kind of hard to get a good comparison shot here. But yeah, 3 generations of Tails. I would love to pick up some of the older figures from different companies, do a video on them at some point. For now, we're just going to stick with these guys because, again, childhood. I bought this, I want to say last year. I went out and bought pretty much one of every figure, Sonic, a Tails, and a Knuckles, just because I saw them and I was like, yeah, nostalgia. And now here we are making videos on them. And of course the movie ones, because they're great. The articulation on them is just what you want. It's a really good evolution in terms of articulation. I mean, some articulation, a little bit more, and then really good articulation. So just putting that out there. But anyways, yeah, great figures. Let's move on to Knuckles. So for Knuckles here, I do have the little base, which I'll show off right here. It's really reflective because it is a nice silver. Looks good. It honestly looks really good. The art on it was done really nice. It is 3D, I guess that would be the way to put it. So it is stamped out. It's actually stamped inwards on the bottom side. So, I mean, if you had clay, I guess you could kind of like indent it into something and it would look pretty good. You won't get the iris because that's not on there. But yeah, there's a little hole where you would plug in the little base for the ring and the peg hole for his foot. They've never really worked for me in the sense that, you know, I'd always want to stand them up like that, but if you stand them on like that, his foot goes on there. So I don't really understand how they actually wanted us to use these, unless it's not completely on the base and you just, I don't know, you maybe put it something like that, which looks a little bit off. Because again, if you do it the other way, his foot ends up on top of his own face, and it becomes unbalanced. So maybe they weren't the most thought out thing, but the fact that they included it, not bad, it's cool. Anyways, aesthetic wise, this Knuckles does have a pretty big head. It stands out. I think that's like his main feature from all the other Knuckles figures, is this one has a giant head. The Sonic Boom one has like a giant body and stuff. This one has a giant head, but I don't really have too much of a problem with it. It looks good. I do like it. The eyes look really nice. The face looks good. The body, you know, it is Knuckles. You see it. You can tell it's Knuckles without having to doubt it. It's just a little bit different. The shoes look really good. The Knuckles look really good. He's giving you a thumbs up, which I do like. Mine, of course, has some paint shipping right here on the nose and everything. It's got a little smile right there. What I like about this figure, though, because I mentioned this in the video game, not the video game, the movie Knuckles review, so many words, that I wish his little dreads here were softer rubber, because the ones that come with the figure from the movie are pretty hard plastic. These are a nice soft rubber, meaning that the hands can kind of move up and around them so much easier, and it's something I wish that they would have done with this figure. Now, the figures themselves do feel a little bit more rubbery. They're not a hard plastic or anything like the newer figures. If you have an old figure with you, pick it up, touch how the gloves and the hands feel right here, and that's pretty much how the body of the figure feels. So again, it's not a hard plastic, it's more of a soft, rubbery feeling, at least for the head. Maybe even the body a little bit. You can see here that there is some staining of black and stuff. Again, these are played with, they're a little bit older. You know, there are from my childhood, and the fact that they survived is great. Not that not many of my figures didn't survive, but just the fact that they did survive shows, you know, the quality put into them, again, with the exception of Sonic. Articulation-wise, with this figure, it's pretty much the same that we had with Tails, where the arm can move up and down. Same with the other one, up and down. We do have rotation at the wrist. Again, a really nice thumbs up. His, I don't know what you want to call it, thighs, I guess, are pretty weak. You can see he does kind of want to fall backwards. He's not balanced right. He can kick forward. He can kick back. No tail movement, and there is head movement, but honestly, it's so hard to do. Even though these are soft, it's really a tight joint on mine, and again, because it is older, I don't want to force anything. I don't want to do any movement that isn't necessary, because I don't want it breaking on me. So there is that. He could use a little bit more of a wash. I did clean him before, but I definitely need to go over these and try to make them look a little bit nicer. There's definitely room for improvement, because it's not the cleanest looking figure, but it's nice and I like it. I might go back in there and repaint the nose right there, which is kind of interesting to me. I'll get into that with Sonic more, because with him, I understand why the nose is painted, but we'll hold off on that in a second. You can see the bottom of the feet don't have any thing going on there. It's just flat. But yeah, overall, a good figure. I do like it. Again, mostly nostalgia for me. So there is that. But let's do a quick comparison with the modern Knuckles, which, if I'm being completely honest, as much as I do like modern Knuckles, I feel like it's not the greatest figure the more I kind of just see him and mess with him. I do really like the movie Knuckles. I think proportion-wise, look-wise, his face, everything about him is really good. Aside from the fact that he doesn't have fists, I don't know why you would give him open hands when he's Knuckles. That's my only complaint there. I still prefer the adventure one, because, I don't know, this one just seems off to me. Something about his aesthetic is a little bit off. His boots, or shoes, I should say, are really, really big. His hands, they're giant, which is fine, but his body feels a little small. I don't know, something about it just feels off. Maybe I'm just so used to big head over here that this one feels off to me, but I don't know. I think it's also kind of just the fact that he does have a punching motion with his hand, and I think that looks a little bit weird. It's both hands, and I get it, he's Knuckles, but I don't know. I feel like the elbow being bent there wasn't the greatest choice. I hope we get some more varieties and posing with him. I do like the face. It's not bad, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because everything is so overly large on him, and his body, again, kind of like Tails, is a little bit smaller than I feel like it should be. It's a good figure. Obviously something you can still pick up for relatively cheap, so, you know, it's a great Knuckles in itself, but honestly, proportion-wise, I kind of do like this one more. But overall, even with nostalgia, I do kind of just lean towards the movie one as kind of the definitive Knuckles at the moment, because I do really like his proportions and everything. Aside from the fact that this isn't rubbery, which sucks, but you can't have it all, I guess. I mean, you probably could, but Apparently it's a little bit hard to ask for. I don't know. Moving on. And here we have Sonic, and of course we have the little stand for him. And it's gold, it looks good, he has that attitude that you really like, and I just really like it. The Sonic definitely conveys the whole attitude thing in just this little stand right here. Same issue with the stand, if you put his foot in the peg, his other foot is going to step on his face and be unbalanced. Mine is already really unbalanced because his leg has broken off. I have it super glued together, which isn't the best method because it could definitely break really easily. His body basically blew apart at one point, which is why you see this little silver thing here, because again there is a screw going through him holding them together. I want to say I tried gluing him together as a kid and it didn't work out, which is why there's kind of like some paint smudging. You can see some of the blue paint smudging throughout his body is because the glue was starting to take it off. I may try to fix this again in the future and maybe sculpt in where the holes are. But I'm a little worried about that because if the foot breaks again, then I have no way of opening him back up to fix the foot. So it's a little mixed bag there. It's one that maybe in the future I might, even though he's not super cheap, pick up again just to have a clean version. But this will forever be my childhood version, so I will forever love the figure, even with all its issues. And this one you can definitely tell was played with the most. You can see the paint chipping at the ears here. Stains going throughout there. Again, the body being the way it is. I love this figure so much when I got it. I played with it the second I got it. I remember sitting in the living room just playing him, you know, just he's running around. He's Sonic. That's what he does. And absolutely having a good time with it because, again, Sonic figures, video game character figures, which I was growing up on video games, they just didn't exist. So having a Sonic, seeing it on shelves, was really exciting. Nowadays, you can kind of take it for granted because you go to any Walmart, any Target, you know, they'll most likely have a Sonic on the shelf. And that's a good thing because you never know when someone walks in there, they just became a fan and they're a little kid and it's just like that's their first time seeing the figure and they're like, hey, you know, I can have a toy of this action figure. So I'm glad they do that. It's really easy to go after a company and say, well, why do they keep reprinting this main character? Why is Sonic in every single wave? Why do we get so many Sonics? Why does he keep coming out? You know, why is this version of Sonic back on shelves and there's like 20 of them? Because he sells. It's that simple. He sells. There's always new fans. There's always people rediscovering it as generations go by. Obviously, that's been happening since I was a kid. I'm from the generation where Sonic was new, where Sonic just came out, where the Sega had just come out, and years later, Sonic is still coming out. My nephews, you know, discovered him not too long ago and enjoyed the video games, enjoy some of the figures. And I know that there's people growing up with it every day, and it's actually really nice to see that happening right now with the movies and everything. We get a new generation of people discovering it. We get adults who were older than me when the games came out. Maybe they didn't watch them. They didn't play them or anything. Now they're watching the movies and maybe they're a little bit more interested than they were before. They may not go back and play the video games or any of the new games, but you know, they're watching the movie and having a good time. And that's really all what collecting and enjoying all these things are. It's having a good time, whether you're enjoying the collectible, enjoying a video game, enjoying a movie, a TV show. That's really what it is. It's having a good time, having a way to express your excitement for a certain type of fandom. And for me, it's action figures and video games. It's pretty much everything entertainment. Let's be honest. I like everything. But that's not true for everybody. And yeah, just wanted to put that out there because it is nice seeing Sonic figures coming out and, you know, knowing where it started for me right here with this figure. And again, he's been played with. He's rough. Some people may look at him and be, oh, do you put a screw through him? What's wrong with you? That's horrible. It was a screw or the trash, and I chose the screw. So it is what it is. And yeah, so articulation, I'm going to be careful with this guy, because again, I don't need him breaking on me. Arm can go up and down, and then rotate forward and back. There is glove motion. I do really love the open hand, and I really hope that we get an open hand Sonic like this, because it would be great, especially with the newer ones, with how much more articulated they are. It'd be great to have it kind of have him like jumping off stuff. I do love the pointing finger hand. It's basically what he does in the video game, so I do really like that. The legs can move forward and back. Again, I'm going to be gentle because this one is definitely loose. It's glued in. It's not in the best condition, which is why it kind of just sits on the shelf next to my Sega games for the most part. But I did want to bring it out here for this video and for some comparisons. And his head can turn left and right. And yeah, again, great figure, you know. I don't really know what else to say other than it's a great figure. It was a great figure, and it still is. And yeah, size comparisons with modern Sonic, which I do like modern Sonic. I'm not gonna lie. I think modern Sonic, when it comes to action figure, I think they did a great job with him. His feet feel a little bit big, and he isn't balanced the best, which is my main issue. Not that this one is balanced all that much better, because you can see he is leaning forward. And that's not just because his feet are weak. That's also just because of the way the back of his spikes kind of go. But yeah, modern Sonic has issues standing up where I have to have his knees kind of bolted outwards. It looks a little bit awkward and weird. The fact that they're bigger and thicker is good, but the knee joints are definitely too weak in both the joint here and the joint there. And of course here we have the movie Sonic. This is the regular non-painted one, just because I wanted to do a fair comparison with him, and if I can get him to stand. Yeah, he stands a lot easier. A little bit harder on this diorama, but he stands so much easier. Looks slick, you know, he embodies what these other two figures look like. I know some people aren't a fan of the fact that his arms aren't tan colored or anything, but I think it's a really good figure. I really love that figure. All three of these I think are great. The only thing honestly missing from the one on the left is the elbow joints. And actually, before I completely forget, here he is with the classic Sonic, which is actually what got me back into collecting figures for Sonic in the first place. I saw the classic Sonic pop up on Instagram, and I was like, I want that. I think that is awesome, so I picked him up, and yeah, I think he looks great. All four of these Sonics, different generations, different iterations, all really good figures. Again, the only thing missing with these two, I'm not going to count this one because it is older, it is like the first, you know, thing coming out, but with these two, I really wish that we would get the elbow joints kind of like how Movie Him has it. Considering they're all from the same company, you know, you would think they would have done it already. Hopefully in the future they'll do it and improve, and they'll just keep getting better and better. That'll pretty much wrap up my review on the Sonic Adventure action figures. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I rambled on a little bit more than I wanted to, but, you know, it is what it is. What I did want to mention earlier about the paint is that I think it's kind of funny that you can see the skin tone coming through on the paint here, meaning that instead of molding this in blue, which I think it is a separate part from the mouth, they molded it in the tan color for some reason. That's odd. I don't know why they did that. I want to say out of all of them, he might be a little bit of a harder plastic than the other ones. Doesn't feel as soft, but I could be wrong. It's just feeling it's old, it's dirty, so there's that. But do I recommend these figures? If you don't mind spending the money on them, go for it. Otherwise, they're definitely more of a just nostalgia thing. They're not needed in a collection, but, you know, I can see why people would want them. But, yeah, that's just me. Like I said, I wouldn't mind picking up another Sonic in the future just to have one clean and just kind of put it up to the side or something. But either way, these three will always be on display with my Sega games, along with some of these other ones. And, yeah, like I said, I may try to pick up some of the older Sonic figures from different companies, just to do some more comparisons, and just because I kind of am curious on how those ones stack up against the new ones and some of the older ones. So we'll see how that goes in the future, but for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you all later, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.